A true movie buff knows that watching a movie isn't just keeping up with the plot. It also means that you notice things that no one else might ever be able to spot. From Easter eggs to references that you'll need to watch twice to understand fully, in this video, we're taking a look at 10 wild fan theories connecting completely different movies. First up, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Batman. One movie shows 5 children who get to visit the world's most famous chocolate factory. The other one is about a vigilante facing off against a madman called the Joker, who wants to wreak havoc on the city of Gotham. It's obvious how Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Charlie Keaton's Batman, 1989, are two entirely different genres of films. But what most people don't know is that because both of them have been directed by Tim Burton, the two films are eerily similar to one another. The director took quite a few liberties and decided to reference Batman in one of the scenes in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where Charlie's dad is shown working at a toothpaste factory, and the brand of toothpaste is none other than Smilex. And if you've seen Batman, you would know that Smilex is the same brand that Joker uses to poison the people of Gotham, and also a reference to the criminal's insane smile. Next, we have Piranha 3D and Jaws. Of course, the two most famous films about fish in the history of cinema were bound to be related to each other one way or the next. And while most people in the world never really noticed this, Piranha 3D makes a fitting tribute to the iconic film Jaws, right in the opening sequence. As a bunch of piranhas capture a man and make a meal out of him, fans can't help but think of Matt Hopper in Jaws, who met the same fate. The only difference was that it was a shark that took him out. And what really kicks it out of the park is the fact that Richard Dreyfuss plays both of these characters in the two films, with the same look he had in the first film as a fun little homage. Coming up, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Daredevil. What's the similarity between the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Daredevil? Both parties have had exposure to radioactive chemicals that had turned Daredevil blind and our group of turtles into mutant superheroes. But according to some pretty crazy and honestly pretty convincing fan theories on the internet, the same materials that blinded Matt Murdock as a child are responsible for turning 4 baby turtles into mutants. And while the two film franchises are owned by two entirely separate entities, namely IDW Comics and Marvel, the fans have all the reason to believe that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles might just cross over into the Marvel Cinematic Universe sometime in the future. Moving on to Tarzan and Frozen. What do you get when you take two successful Disney films and put them together? A whole bunch of cross-references and fun Easter eggs that the fans are always ready to eat up. Disney is known for its interconnected universe of films. In fact, a lot of Disney movies take place within overlapping timelines and contain references to each other that are always fun to spot if you pay attention. And after paying a lot of attention, avid Disney fanatics have reason to believe that Anna and Elsa's parents from Frozen are also the couple that lost their child in the middle of the jungle, never to find him again, which is, you guessed it, the plot of the iconic Disney original Tarzan. Now, the reason why the fans believe this is because both the girls and Tarzan's parents died after they set out into the sea, so it's pretty easy to understand why someone would make the connection. Up next, Ghostbusters and Casper. Casper the Friendly Ghost is perhaps the only spirit that you might not want to immediately banish from your house. However, this theory linking the 1995 live-action Casper film to the Ghostbusters is going to shock you to no end. In Casper, the film's primary villain hires a group of ghost hunters to expel Casper and his uncles out of his mansion. Now, what's given rise to the theory is that one of these ghost hunters is named Ray Stantz, who is part of the Ghostbusters played by Dan Aykroyd. And something tells us that this isn't just a coincidence, so it's pretty likely that Casper and the Ghostbusters are living in the same universe, which technically makes them mortal enemies, with one's job being to expel the other out of the homes that they haunt. Following up with the shared universe of Back to the Future. Back to the Future is one of the most iconic film franchises of all time, but imagining combining that kind of fame with references to films like Django Unchained and A Million Ways to Die in the West, both of which are entirely different genres with entirely different plot lines. So when Christopher Lloyd's manic Doc Brown and Jamie Foxx's iconic Django made an appearance in A Million Ways to Die, fans of all three franchises were over the moon. Sadly though, these appearances are just one-time one-time cameos for now. But hey, if it can happen once, it can very well happen again. Not to mention Terminator 2 and Wayne's World. T-1000 is a shape-shifting android killer who is the primary antagonist of Terminator 2 Judgment Day. And while the villain is killed by the end of the second Terminator film, he makes a comeback one last time, but in another film franchise, taking the fans by surprise. Wayne's World is a comedy film for the ages, so it only made sense for T-1000 to make one final appearance in the hilarious film as the android, played by the iconic Robert Patrick, who reprises his role when he pulls Wayne over, and in a hilarious instant, the main character immediately drives off once he realizes that the police officer is actually the murderous android that we are all too familiar with. Taking a look at Raiders of the Lost Ark and Star Wars. Indiana Jones and Luke Skywalker existing in the same universe is every geek's dream come true, and let's just say that there are plenty of Easter eggs that connect the two movies together. One of the most noticeable ones was in Raiders of the Lost Ark, where we see the Well of Souls containing the Ark. Now, the Ark is full of mysterious symbols and Egyptian hieroglyphics on every single wall, and taking advantage of that, the filmmakers decided to leave a bunch of clues for fans who are watching the film a little too closely. As Indy and Salah get their hands on the stone that holds the Ark, we see a bunch of hieroglyphics in the exact shape of R2-D2 and C-3PO, both of which are fictional humanoid robot characters in the Star Wars franchise, making for a fun little connection between the two franchises. And if we go by the timelines of the two films, dare we say that the Raiders of the Lost Ark might have predicted the events of Star Wars. Now for Raiders of the Lost Ark and the MCU. It seems like the Raiders of the Lost Ark is a film full of references and fun Easter eggs, because another noticeable moment in the film has led people to believe that Indiana Jones might actually be a part of the MCU. To start things off, Captain America, the First Avenger, takes a lot of inspiration from the Indiana Jones films in terms of tone and storytelling, and that makes complete sense since the director of the film, Joe Johnston, kicked his career off while working on the Indiana Jones films alongside George Lucas. Major Arnold Todt, or the Sturmbannführer in the Indiana Jones franchise, is a ruthless Nazi agent who is the second antagonist of the film, and in Captain America, we see the Red Skull talking about the Führer digging for trinkets in the desert when he finds the Tesseract. And while this can be chalked up to a reference to the real Hitler, chances are that this is a direct nod to the Raiders of the Lost Ark and the Ark of the Covenant. Finally, Willy Wonka and Snowpiercer. After talking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, how can we miss out on the film that started it all? Let's throw it all the way back to the 1971 film Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is of course based on Roald Dahl's iconic children's book that went on to inspire the Johnny Depp starring remake as well. But what's truly strange is people linking a fun children's movie to a dystopian film that's set in a post-apocalyptic world. Directed by Bong Joon-ho, the creator of Parasite, Snowpiercer is said to be a dystopian version of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And as bizarre as it might sound, here's why it all makes sense. Just like every room in Willy Wonka's factory is different from the other, every car of the Snowpiercer train is also different, giving space to different people. But as a group of people makes their way from one car to the next, one of them keeps getting taken out in a brand new way. Compare that to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, where we lose a child in every part of the factory that we enter. And the connection isn't all that hard to make, right? That's a wrap for this video. Which one of these connections did you totally not see coming? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.